The opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Happy New Year, and welcome to For the Public Good. We're the show that tries to identify corporations, individuals, and institutions who are doing good and doing it well. And today, I'm really happy on this second day, I guess, of 2013, to have Gil Santos with us.
Hi, how are you?
And,
Glad to be here.
My old buddy.
Hi, Larry.
And it's Wednesday, Harry. And this is Wednesday evening. And we're here to talk about 2013 and beyond. And who better to talk about it than Gil Santos, who's
Agreed.
a principal in futuristics, also a professor at Lyceum, and also someone who shocked me this morning, because here's this guy, came in and he knows that I have a dirty mind, I guess, because he says, hey, I had my orgasm this morning. I said, what, Gil? And then he proceeded to explain what that stands for. And so before we get taken off the air, Gil, explain what orgasm stands for.
Well, you see, this all happened because I was thinking one day, why this fellow sent me on the internet. You must have your orgasm every single day of your life to live longer.
Okay.
Okay, so what does it mean? You know, because everybody around me laughed. They said, they almost fell off the chair.
They had dirty minds too, right? Yeah, that was it. Okay.
No, I figure...
There's nothing wrong with orgasm daily.
I figure...
What's dirty about that?
I figure those who laughed and almost fell off the chair are normal human beings.
Okay,
you know.
okay.
But orgasm means, number one, eat every day. O, organic veggies.
Organic veggies, I'm up for that.
Okay. For G...
we need an R first, right?
For R, let me see now, so that I don't forget, you know. For R, that's ripe fruits.
Ripe fruits,
Yeah.
okay, I'm good with that.
Not raw.
No,
Ripe.
Because you drink your water that way.
Okay.
Since fruits have 90%, 85% water.
Okay.
Then G is for grilled fish.
Grilled fish.
Grilled,
okay.
you know.
We do that in Japan for breakfast, okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then A is for all wheat bread. All wheat bread, you know.
Wouldn't have any other kind.
Yeah. And S is for salt-free food. Anything salt-free.
That's
Eat
good.
less salt.
Yes, right.
And M is drink milk with protein. So there you are. Have your orgasm every day.
Well,
You
all
can't
of
go
you
wrong.
folks out there that didn't know that, and you thought that we were starting off with a different kind of show than we usually do, that's just not true. Gil, hey, what have we got in store here? You know, we heard a lot about how great things are going for the Philippines and how things are growing.
Yeah. First,
Is that really happening, first
Yeah.
of all? And where does that take us, you know, in the future?
Well, it takes us both. It depends on your perspective. It gives us something good. It also gives us something bad, you know.
Okay.
So we have to balance these things off so that we can cope with the bad things. We would know how to do it, how to remedy anything negative for us. See, now, if we look at it, the Philippine government says, or the Pinoy administration says, 7.1% of gross domestic product growth.
Well, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Boy,
But
in this day and age,
then
absolutely.
the other side of that coin is, hey, is that really true? We've had 3 major natural disasters, major typhoons for 2012, which gave us a total damage of about 200 billion pesos.
Wow.
So how are we going to recover that? You cannot recover in agriculture, agro fisheries industry. You cannot recover losses caused by natural calamities overnight. You cannot do that.
No.
You have to wait, you know. So the question remains. Number 2, this year we have broken the 100 million mark of our population. So how are we going to feed our 100 million?
This year, just yesterday or today, or is it just
Yesterday.
Is that close?
Yesterday.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, probably it's more than that.
Yeah,
Probably
much more,
110, you know,
Yeah.
but the guesstimates is 101 million people.
Okay.
The question is, how are we going to feed them? How are we going to give them water? Safe water for human consumption. Because our forests are so depleted, so degraded, you now have a problem of water resource. Now, in addition to that, you have to have jobs. You have to have the economy moving. Now, you cannot have the economy moving without source of energy. And we have to have renewable sources of energy. In addition to what we have from hydroelectric, from geothermal, from wind, from solar or sun, from the imports of crude,
Yeah, crude.
from
Crude
coal,
oil, yeah.
you know, and all these things. And we have to balance it off with the environmentally friendly or clean source of energy. Because without that, we certainly are dead meat. We cannot compete worldwide.
So
You know.
what you're saying is everybody knows this, but where do we start on that? You know, we have here in the Philippines lots of natural resources, right? We have enough oil that we can get out of the
Gas,
ground,
right,
or
right,
gas,
right.
and whatever.
But,
So,
it's not
yeah.
totally negative.
Yeah.
You see, there are sources of capital which we can tap, because the first thing you have to do to attract capital is, number one, make it attractive for the capitalist to put his money. In short, give him the incentives. Where are these coming from? From foreigners and
Okay.
Filipino workers overseas. The Filipino workers in the United States have an average, according to them, to their organization in the U.S., have an average investable savings of $50,000 a year. Now, how many are there in the U.S.? Roughly 4 million Filipinos. Now, let's say you get only 1 million Filipinos who can invest $50,000 a year. How many is that?
5
You know,
Well, see.
That's like 50 million, right?
yeah. So you're now looking at probable sources of capital for renewable energy. That's one. Number two is, how are you going to get these people to invest in food production? Because food production is going to be needed. It's required. Everybody has to eat. And therefore, how can you lose if you know how, and you have the technology, you have the capital, you have the qualified people, and most important of all, according to Dr. Posadas, Roger Posadas of the UP Technology Management Institute, he says, we must have a techno-nationalism and technological management capability to be able to compete. That's
we
what
have,
he's
we,
saying.
we have the abilities as far as the land and the climate and the soil to grow whatever we need to grow and be self-sufficient and actually be able to export a lot of things
Export,
agriculturally, right?
Yes.
The only thing that is lacking is technology. Is
Technolo-
that's the problem?
There is one drawback as far as culture is concerned. The average Filipino farmer is not readily accepting technological advances because he is not sure of what's going to happen to him. This is our experience in the Futuristic Center. You tell people, this is what you need to change. This is what you need to progress. And you know the answer is, when you go to Cabanatuan, or you go to Caliraya, you go to Capiz, you go to Bukidnon, they say, so what? I'm going to accept that. What will happen to me? You're going to have machines. What will happen to my children? Where will they work? You know?
Industrial agriculture.
Yeah. They do not appreciate that. Then, of course, the backlash is going to be on 2015. Because in 2015, you have the ASEAN Free Trade Agreement going into effect. What that means is all the levies and tariffs of trade within the 10 country members of ASEAN is going to be reduced to 5%. What does that mean to
More
our
exports.
more
All
exports?
exports.
More exports. See, meaning our
Imports to us, I mean.
more
Yeah.
imports for us.
Yes.
Because our machines in the Philippines are old, radically speaking. Who do I get this from? We get this from. We get it from the sugar industry people.
Yeah, hey, I've seen a lot of sugar mills. They look like about 200 years old.
Yes. And what does that mean? The sugar which is manufactured in Thailand is going to be cheaper imported in the Philippines than the sugar
Made here.
made or produced in Negros or in Pampanga. Because of the productivity of those machines, the technology that they have, the latest, and the capital that they have poured in. You see, the Thais have the what they call the Charun Pokpan company, corporation. It's 10 times bigger than San Miguel. And they have invested in new technologies. That makes them competitive worldwide, you see. They're exporting.
So why were they able to do that investment? Did they do it through incentives from their government, or did they do it through their natural capitalistic
Both.
thing?
And here we can do it too, because the Philippines, by virtue of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas, expanded our inland seas, meaning we now have fish we can get from our inland waters. You know, because it expanded to by 43,000 square kilometers. So that's a lot. Huh? If we have the source of energy, we can manufacture food, canned fish, canned squid, and sell it to China even, because the Chinese will eat everything that moves, you know. Now, the other part of it, the other portion of that is you've got to have your real comprehensive agrarian reform program, and that must work. You must have your land use law, which must designate certain areas for certain products, so that you don't have competition. Within, you have complementation of your industry.
Not everybody will sell peanuts.
Yes, yes. But the Filipino by culture, yeah, remember the hot pandesal?
Yes.
Years and years back, some 30 years ago? Oh, when they discovered everybody wants hot pandesal in the morning, everybody in the neighborhood
Became hot pandesal
manufacturers. And who was the buyer? There was no buyer.
Everyone was manufacturing.
Well, we started with one in
Yeah.
our neighborhood with long lines in
Yeah.
the morning, and all of a sudden there aren't any lines anywhere because there are 4 or 5 of
Exactly.
them around.
So,
That's true.
so
yeah.
this
Yeah.
Me Too attitude is something that has to be changed as well. In short, what we're saying here is what we have to teach our people is change the mindset, get to be more cooperative with each other. This little concept of I own the land and therefore I'm rich, does not hold. Even if you own 1,000 hectares and it's not producing anything for you that you can sell, what good is it? You have to pay taxes on it. And what
Not
else?
productive, yes.
It's not productive. What matters should be productivity, not production. Productivity.
Productivity,
Yeah.
okay.
Because if you can produce more in less time, at less cost, you're ahead. You're ahead.
Okay, but I know that we have UP at Los Baños. We have agricultural people graduating with agricultural degrees, but they're not the farmers, are they?
No,
the
they're
farmers,
not.
The farmers generally don't know that much about agriculture, as far as I understand. So
They couldn't
what
care
are we,
less.
That's right. So what are we doing to educate? You know, we have all of these people graduating with agricultural degrees,
Yes.
but where are they connecting with the folks that are tilling the land?
Well, this is where I'm going to tell you a little story about
Okay.
what we did last November in Surabaya, in Indonesia. There was a gathering sponsored by the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity in Surabaya, in conjunction with what's it called, Universitas Pelita Harapan, you know. And the idea was to make people understand what the hell is taxonomy. And taxonomy is nothing else but the relationship between all living organisms and all systems in our lives, so that you know how to classify them, so that you don't mix them up. You know how to deal with each kind, each species, and each variety, you know. And the idea is being tell the people who are supposed to be educating our young people, a younger generation, not to use the same word that they're supposed to define. They're supposed to simplify and make the farmer understand what is taxonomy all about. What is all this mystery in scientific words? There's really no mystery as long as we can simplify. That is the key. we must simplify. Because if we do that, and we can do it successfully, they understand, they appreciate. They not only appreciate, they own the plan, and they're going to implement whatever development plan we have, the government has, as long as they know they're part of it. Right now, the Filipino farmer does not care about plans coming from Manila, plans coming from the National Economic Development Authority. Why? Because even the local governments are saying, local government officials, they're saying, well, that's your plan, Imperial Manila. Give me the money and I will implement it. You don't give me the money, I don't. So it is a matter, something you cannot separate the political portion of it from the economic goals.
And that's a point that, again, my experience on the Friday group that I belong to is that we can have all of these ideas, and we can go out and we can hold seminars and teach people how to do things, but if we don't take care of the economic side, it doesn't make any difference anyway, because if people are stuck in a single crop environment, by the time that they harvest their crop, how much they're into the 5-6 folks, or 80% of whatever they're gonna get for their crops. So it's feudalism from 300 years ago or 400 years ago.
Yeah.
So how do we break that? How do we break that problem at the same time that we're teaching them how to use biodiversity and to understand how to use the land and at the maximum? But we have to have somehow to make sure that they're not going 80% in hock.
Yes.
During the time that they're growing or during their growing.
This is the reason I brought up the problem of the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program, because the CARP says you must pay the original owner of the land the full fair market value of the land before you can get it, before the government can get it and give it to the tenants. And you must be a qualified tenant to be able to get a portion of that land. If you are an employee, you're not a tenant, you know, because tenancy problem existed and originated during the what they call the encomienda system during the Spanish period, whereby the owner of the land had the right to get slave labor and not pay them any wages. You see, this is part of our socio-economic problem, inequity in the Philippines, which we inherited. But we're trying to change that. And that's supposed to be the goal of the CARP, which is, incidentally, a portion of the UN Millennium Goal. You know, the 8-point Millennium Goal, the last part of it, the number 8, if you notice, is elimination of poverty. By 2015,
right?
And it's just around the corner.
We're only 40% people away from that, right?
I don't think we'll be able. I don't think we'll be able to get anywhere close to that goal.
No, not at the rate things are going right now. So, what do you think we can do in 2013?
In 2013, there's going to be an election. Now,
Money.
We just went through one of those in my country.
Yes,
that's,
but this is where we at the Futuristic Center are saying, let us begin advocating not the money, God, during the election. Those people who are going to buy votes, better vote them out. Get the money and vote them out, because they're not going to be helpful in the medium and the long run.
So go ahead and take the money, but vote for somebody else?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Vote for somebody who has got the idealism, who has got the plan, and who has got the program, you know, who has got the philosophy. Our problem with our political parties is none of them are founded on ideology.
Well,
None.
there are no platforms with most of the candidates that are running. They really promote nothing except the motherhood statements and the usual health, education, security. You know, they go through, this is the traditional form. The party I joined, because I'm promoting myself in this congressional race for Muntinlupa, at least I promote a platform which is to save the Laguna Dibay, and that is to build a circumferential tollway, a skyway, to not only make, to generate more commerce, because it'll be an alternate route for SLEX, but to build the required spillway as part of term of reference for the Skyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The education that you're promoting, that the farmers are required to have, if not implement, is going to be a very slippery slope. You're right. The reason being, even with the agrarian reform, which is now nowhere in Congress, and it's going to come up in 2014, the renewal of this agrarian reform program. It's not being discussed because so many controversial issues are being put to test. I mean, gee, the president promised no taxes. We just went through the sin taxes. We are now going through, now they're taxing every service, you know, the condominium, even associations, which shouldn't be taxed, because an association, we can get together and decide no association dues, should we want to, right?
Yeah.
And now they're beginning to tax everything. The burden to the Filipino people is getting heavier by the day. Now, the problem is, you're right, you've always been a proponent for food. Food security is the only way you can help the country.
Yeah.
That, I'm not sure there's a clear path towards how we're going to do that. He's saying that we will export rice in 2013. I've met a lot of people who are in this business, and they're saying it's in the contrary. The problem is perception. What is the truth? What is not the truth?
Yes. Yes.
Now, if we were to deal,
the figures.
yes, if we were to deal with realities, then we can begin to reform and go towards critical improvements. If we don't know and we're left in the dark, which is exactly what's happening, because we are told by media that this is the way to go, this is the way to think, and yet poverty seems to mutate right now in the barrio level. It's not good. It's, if only we become transparent, come out with the reality, no matter how sour it will taste, then we can address the problems. It's like an alcoholic. If you don't admit it first, without admission, you keep denial, you're hiding it under the carpet. Government has to come clean and say, hey, we're not making enough rice. Why? Like you said, all those reasons. Then address that. Instead, no. Too many other issues are being brought to the table, and this year's distraction for me is the elections. Rather than this being the solution, I think this will be a distraction for the Pinoy government, because he's now going on his third year, is going to enter his third year.
And don't think only of this election, 2013. There's
2016, yes.
2016.
Yes. And all of this is all aligning. Political parties are not out to improve or introduce new platforms. They're not. What they're doing is aligning themselves for the bigger election, which is 2016, which is all for the greater good of the oligarchs, the dynasties that are getting bigger and bigger. Soon, we will have 100% families that will run the country.
There's only one way of changing that oligarchy trend, you know, and that is making the ordinary man in the street believe, know, appreciate, understand that he is part of the planning.
Yes.
Unless
but they have to be part of the planning.
Yes, they have to be.
Okay, then
that is an art and a science by itself.
Then that goes back to something that I hope we're going to focus on.
Orgasm?
In the last. No, we've already done the orgasm. In the last half of this show is the man on the street. Demographically, what man on the street are we looking for? You know, in my country, we just had an election. Young people, and we've always pretended that we were the melting pot, but for the very first time, ethnic groups actually made a difference in an election. They really were a driving force in it. So we had a candidate who went after those groups, and another party who just threw them away and said, you know, I don't want their votes anyway, you know. Well, the point is that if we're going to do this in the Philippines, which demographic group do we go after? Okay. Well, let's talk about that in the last half. And don't anybody out there go anywhere, because we're not going to talk about that first word we started off with. But we are going to look at maybe some ways that we can make improvements by getting the right people into office, I guess. So, be right back.